Hi everyone, I wanted to talk a little bit about pleadings and a little bit about complaints. So if I were you, my first question would be, what's a pleading? A pleading is a document that's filed with the clerk of a court. And basically it states your claims, and it may state your claim, but it may also reply to a claim that's been made against you. But any case, or almost every case, is going to have to be started by a complaint. I love when words have the same meaning legally as they do in normal usage. So a complaint is really just that. You're saying, hey, I've been wronged. I deserve some compensation, some justice. I should say, from a very cynical side of things, most of the civil litigation that you will see will be involving the recovery of money for some reason or other. If you've been injured, we believe in our legal system that our money compensation can make you whole again. There are other types of litigation. Some that come to mind very easily would be, say, divorce. Some might be child custody. Those are other types. Some cases involving civil rights may not necessarily involve money, but they could involve money and efforts to have things cleared or have things determined to be constitutional or unconstitutional. But we'll work with a lot of those. But that's what a pleading is. The complaint starts it off, and a complaint is always going to have to be in the proper place. In other words, the court that you go to is going to have jurisdiction to hear and decide the matter. Let me give you an easy case. If you go to traffic court and you get a divorce, you can't do it, but let's just say that you could. The traffic court does not have jurisdiction, does not have the power to hear and decide that matter. So any divorce from a traffic court just isn't going to work. Workers' compensation to fight your traffic case, again, got to have the right court. So in where we are, we will deal with two different jurisdictions. We'll deal with the federal jurisdiction, that is the United States District Court, or we'll deal with state court, and that's where we'll spend most of our time. And the lowest trial court is from the Court of Common Pleas. That's, when I say lowest trial court, I'll come around to another little bit of information a little bit later, but that's the place where most complaints would be filed. A complaint is a form of a pleading. The first two types of pleadings we'll talk about will be complaints, and then another great one that I love is an answer. An answer responds to the complaint. You say, I've got all these claims against you. The other person files a reply, which is an answer, and says, no, you don't. I didn't do it, or a million other reasons. So any complaint will have to have some indication of the jurisdiction of the court. Pennsylvania's Court of Common Pleas has jurisdiction to hear and decide all matters within the Commonwealth that deal with state law. And accordingly, what we'll generally start off a complaint with in Pennsylvania will be the names and addresses of the parties. You'll usually do it in a way that you'll tell everyone that this individual, the plaintiff, that's the person who starts everything, lives in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. You may list the defendant, the person who did the bad things, as having lived in Pennsylvania as well. That'll usually tell you that if the actions took place in Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's courts are going to have jurisdiction over everything. That said, once you've told the court that you have jurisdiction, by the way, in federal court it'll be a little bit different, and we'll look at plenty of federal court forms. In federal court, you have to have a separate section and call it jurisdiction and tell them specifically why you have brought the case to the federal court. But anyway, what you'll do is in a complaint, you'll list that you have jurisdiction, but you'll also have to list what's called a cause of action. If you go out to dinner tonight and while eating your spaghetti, while eating the spaghetti, you come across an industrial bolt that's 2 inches long and it breaks your front teeth, I think you have a cause of action. That is, you have a breach of a duty that the restaurant had to you to provide you with a safe environment and to provide you with normal food. Accordingly, you'd spell out the fact that there was, I guess we'd call that a couple different things. Could be a breach of a contract when you go in to sit down. They make an offer of their menu. You make an acceptance by ordering that menu, and when the bill comes, you pay it. There's been a breach of that contract. There's also been negligence, I think, involved. So that would be a separate count, and we'll talk about counts when we look at the Butler versus McCoy case. We'll spend a fair amount of time doing. But to make your claim, you have to make sure you break up your complaint into the elements that constitute your cause of action. So, for instance, if we were dealing with a contract, we'd have to first say that there was a contract between you two, that the parties were competent to enter into that contract, and that somebody breached the contract, somebody didn't honor the contract. And you'd have to have all those elements. You'd also have to show that the damages or the injuries you received were the result of the defendant's actions. We are going to read a book during this course called A Civil Action, and it involves a group of children that suffer from different aspects of childhood leukemia. In that case, the defendant says, you can't show that we caused leukemia. People get leukemia from a lot of different things. So our involvement was not the proximate cause, which means the underlying legal cause of your client's injury. So that'll your complaint will always have some element of proximate cause in there, showing that you have been caused injury. You'll also have to tell the court what you want in terms of damages, and we'll talk about damages a little bit down the road. But damages most commonly are what we call compensatory damages. That is to compensate you for the losses that you've suffered. All complaints will also have what's called a wherefore clause. And the wherefore clause is something that'll become second nature to you once you've done a few of these. But a wherefore clause tells the court, here's what we want. I have been involved in cases where judges will look at everybody and say, what do you want? So you really do need to spell that out. But that's the introduction to pleadings and complaints, and I just wanted to share that with you. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you're having a good summer and a good semester. Talk to you soon. Bye.